All right, everybody. Listen, good morning. It's going to be a great day today. Looking forward to having a great day today. I hope y'all are looking forward to having a great day today. This is Talking in the Temple. This is a whole nother situation. So I want to say, hey, what's happening to my mama? Mom, this ain't Pastor Tim. This is the fella that's going to be showing his width and his breadth and his range. Well, we're gonna be talking about issues of life. First of all, I want to know as I get ready to come on, did he or not? Hey, what's going on, everybody? Talking in the temple. See, I put my duds on, got dressed for y'all today as we're getting ready to have a conversation dealing with this whole toxic waste. Make sure you go ahead and like and share. If you haven't already subscribed to Temple Talk TV, go ahead and do that. It's going to be a fantastic time. Nope, this is not Bible study. Nope, this is not going over scriptures. This is a whole nother situation. So I'm trying to let you get yourself together, get your mind right. As y'all can see, we're talking in the temple. So make sure you go ahead and share this. May just be a few of us on here. Gotta get my lips ready. I'm gonna be saying some scorching stuff. So let's get the energy up. Everybody say, hey, what's up? Hey, Mom, I saw you already. Happy to have those of you that are on with us. Welcome to the temple, man. Just want to let y'all know this right quick, in case y'all didn't already see it. Don't say I did not warn you. We're talking to the temple today, and we're going to be dealing with toxic waste and all of that good stuff. So again, don't say I did not warn you. All right. So hey, first of all, let me ask y'all a question. Did he or nah? What about that? The verdict just came in. Verdict just came in on the Diddy trial. I was just watching that, and as I was watching that, I thought about it, and they overcharged him. Bottom line, they overcharged him. They should not have gone for the racketeering. They should not have gone for the whole RICO. But there's a thing called buck busting. And some of y'all um, may be familiar with that term, and some of y'all may not be. Buck busting is back in the days of legalized slavery, where they would take the most formidable N word, they called them niggas. Um, and they would take the most formidable individual and they would emasculate this individual, bust him down, rape him, sodomize him, and make everybody else watch to tell them, you better stay in line. Because if we can do it to him, we can do it to you. Now, Diddy did all kinds of crazy stuff that I wouldn't be a part of, stuff that I wouldn't recommend, stuff that I wouldn't participate in. But that wasn't the question. The question was he racketeering? Was he involved in racketeering? And so, because they decided to go on and overcharge and do too much to try to put this in his place, you understand? They did too much in doing that, and needless to say, yeah, he three three of the charges not guilty, two of them, which were the lesser charges, uh, he was found guilty. So, you know, did he or not? That's on them. That's not on. It's not anybody but the Southern District of New York and the prosecution. So, listen, let me get into this right quick. I wanted to know what y'all thought about that. If y'all have been keeping up with that, but I want to get into um, this quick little podcast conversation. Now, let me tell you how the podcast works. Podcast works differently. The podcast doesn't work like doesn't work like church. Doesn't work like Bible study, but it does in a way where if you have questions or if you have comments or whatever, you can throw those in there. Well, my number one fan, my mama, is on here, and I appreciate that. And mom, since you on here, uh, I'm gonna use you somewhat as an example. Um, this is somewhat inspired by what you've shared with me um, in times past. Number one, first of all, I'm going to be dealing with a lot. I'm going to be dealing with over the next several weeks, dealing a lot with toxic waste. Um, and as I'm dealing with toxic waste, what I'm going to be talking about is really just kind of not only being able to identify it, but really understanding, what it is, how it is. You want to be able to recognize it. You need to be able to release it, and you need to be able to rise from it. All right. You need to recognize it, you need to be able to release it, and you need to be able to rise from it. That's toxicity. And so want to welcome y'all to another episode. Here we are, man. Talking in the temple. And let me do all of my professional stuff. This is the show where truth meets transformation. That's the whole point. Truth meets transformation. And today's topic that I'm dealing with, um, it might challenge your emotions, but I think it can also change your life. Oftentimes, I would hear my mother refer um, to she and um, my father's marriage. And one thing that she has often said, and I've appreciated it, and this is not, this ain't no hidden news. This is all news. So one thing that I have appreciated is that she's always said, the reason I've always respected your daddy is because he loved me enough to leave. That used to just confuse the hell out of me. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And then it hit me. Um, you ever stayed in an environment too long, or stayed in a relationship too long, or stayed in a connection too long? What can happen when you do that If you stay in those environments or those relationships or those connections too long, what can happen is you begin to shrink. Mm. Or you find yourself becoming the very environment or the very participant or the very contributor in that environment, relationship, or association that you don't like. Mm. What if I told you that my mother helped me to understand that sometimes the most loving thing that either you can do or someone can do for you is leave? Yeah. So we're going to look at this. It's going to get a little uncomfortable. We'll talk about some of these unspoken truths. And this is the truth. Watch this, y'all. Love does not always stay. Sometimes it actually steps away. Doesn't even make sense. It probably doesn't make sense to y'all like it didn't make sense to me. Because when she told me that, I was like, you got to be out of your mind. What do you mean that's one of the best things? Or that's why you respect him the most? Because it was the leaving that, for whatever reason it was, the leaving was the sign that I love you enough to leave. Because leaving isn't always a sign of a failure or a lack of love. No, it's not. And that's why I said, listen, if you got the wrong ears on, you ain't gonna get this. Um, but sometimes leaving can be it can identify two things. It can identify, if you the leaver, if you're the one that leaves, it can identify self-preservation. And sometimes if you've been left, watch this, it could actually identify mutual respect. I remember, I remember there was a time before my dad passed. Man, listen, and my family, I have family and friends that would always try to make you be in environments or make you be around people or make you or try to force you to be in these toxic environments that are, nobody gives a damn if it's good for them. It ain't good for you. And you have to understand how to make sure that you don't sit up there and allow yourself to become intoxicated and subjected to the nitrous oxide and carbon monoxide, I should say, the carbon monoxide in the environment where you can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, but it'll sure kill you. Hmm. I want to be real clear here, just in case somebody don't get the picture. I just want you to understand that sometimes loving is leaving, and sometimes you need to love yourself enough to leave. But I remember, in order, when my father and I, some years ago, man, and we two grown men, I remember, man, I didn't agree with some stuff. And at this age and stage, at that point, I was grown. I didn't agree with stuff. Didn't have to. Sometimes you got to step away to maintain the respect. See, people don't want to talk about this. Don't want to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about this stuff because it's uncomfortable. And that's the whole point of coming in the temple. If you're going to talk in the temple, you might as well get ready to get uncomfortable. And so, with that in mind, I remember that the time that I stepped away, it was not out of a lack of love. It was not out of a lack of respect. It was not out of any anger or frustration. I just know that if we gonna keep this thing rolling, somebody got to step away. Because if somebody don't step away, it's gonna be some problems and repercussions, consequences and repercussions. Some furniture moving. Yeah. And sometimes we don't know, and we go through these trips and you stay stuck. Watch this on the departure instead of embracing the deliverance. Hmm. So here it is, right quick. I wanted to share this with y'all. I don't know how long. Okay, I'm only gonna be on here 11 more minutes because I'm only gonna do 30 minutes today. Watch this. There are two or three things here that you gotta understand. I made some notes. Number one, some people have a strong internal constitution for retribution, and staying in a volatile environment is only going to increase the temperature and the tension. I'm somebody, I'm confessing, I know exactly what that is. In other words, the point I'm trying to make is sometimes you can be that joker to where you will sit there like a serpentine creature and you stay to make them pay. Mm, mm, mm. So when we talk about constitution and conflict, listen, it's good to let them leave because they're leaving does not mean that they're not loving. Sometimes we ought to be happy. See, that's the problem. So many of us are so, we have so many people who are so vain themselves into thinking that they are the be all, with all, stop all, stay all, that's it, that's all. And all of what you have and all of who you are is supposed to be good enough to maintain and retain, excuse me. No, man, you got to be glad. Sometimes when you find yourself becoming what you despise, or when you, because see, that's another thing. It's not just the person leaving. Sometimes you have to take note yourself when it's time to go. Yeah, see, you have to know when it's time to go because you'll become, y'all heard me said earlier, said earlier, you'll become what you despise. It's time to leave. But when you start becoming something different, and when you start doing things differently, and when your soul begins to shrink, and when you begin to take on the attitude, personalities, characteristics, or whatever of that toxic environment or toxic association or toxic relationship, just by virtue of the fact that you need to save yourself, you need to leave. And you better say to hell with what anybody else has to say about it, unless they are going to do something about the situation. And 10 times out of 10, they're not because they're not in it. Okay. Whenever, listen, when you have a constitution or when somebody has a constitution and the conflict is there, listen, man, don't become what you hate by staying where you shouldn't be. Hmm. And the truth of the matter is, even with my reference to my father and I, distance can sometimes be the only way to maintain both dignity and decency. Yes, absence can actually produce appreciation. And what space can do, space can prevent you from sparring. I think that's the best way to put it. you know, uh, I'm I'm not gonna waste my time tit tat arguing with you. If our conversations have to always be contentious, or if our conversations are always combative, or if our conversations are not productive, or if I don't feel better more times than not after having a conversation with you, you and I don't need to talk. It's that simple. Yeah. Well, sometimes separation is the only way to maintain the respect. That's the point I'm making. So you gotta have a very keen consciousness of your own constitution and conflict within a toxic environment, toxic relationship, or toxic association. And then you have to understand that sometimes you can show compassion through distance. In other words, I'm going to move out the way so you can keep on your way. Because if I stay in the way and you don't get out the way, yeah, yeah. Oh, she left me. Oh, he left me. Be glad that somebody had enough sense and did not live in the daisy field of delusion. Yeah. Sometimes, here's another thing. I brought up the Diddy trial on purpose. The reason I brought up the Diddy trial because people kept asking Cassie, well, why didn't you leave? Well, I couldn't. Yeah, okay. I almost did one of these because I want y'all to know. I'm gonna keep reminding you of that right there because it may come on and get real sooner than later. But here's the thing: you have to sometimes have the courage to choose departure. I brought my mother up from the very beginning. I'm gonna bring her up one more time because the one thing that she told me, I remember years ago when we left Redland, Nacogdoches, Texas, out of there, gone, done. Gotta understand. Sometimes you have to have sometimes you have to have the courage to choose departure. Yeah. And you have to be okay when other people have the courage to do that regarding you. Because when we look at this, first of all, it's almost impossible. It's not impossible, but it's almost impossible to have a healthy exit. But the truth of the matter is, when we talk about love, when you talk, because notice what I'm talking about here is listen, when leaving is love, right? So a healthy exit isn't always easy, but sometimes you gotta understand love ain't always soft. Hmm. Courage ain't always loud. And let me say this: you don't when you do leave, just leave. You ain't gotta be loud about it. Just just leave. Or if somebody leaves you, just let them. Man, y'all playing, man. Bye. That's what you need to say. Because you have to have courage to choose departure. Because here's the thing, um, as I've gotten older, what I have learned is that I choose peace over proximity. Hmm. Man, we ain't got listen. If my peace comes as a result of being 1,000 miles away from you, out of there. Bye. I'm telling you. And the thing about it is, Whether you're the lever or the left, what really needs to happen there when you talk about departing, when you leave, you've got you can't view it as punishment. No, if listen, and I said I wasn't going to be biblical, but God, dog, I got to at least add this one principle that Jesus made very clear. Many of you all take off shaking the dust off your feet, but you left your damn peace back there. You got to let your peace come from where you are before you leave. Then you get out here in these streets and you running around and can't find no peace because you were so busy trying to get out of there. Watch this, as a sense or a source of punishment for the person you leaving, that you went off and left your peace with the person that you were trying to take the peace from. Boy, here's the thing, and I'm out of here because when you understand when leaving is love, you have both constitution and conflict in play. When leaving is love, it takes courage to depart, or it actually takes emotional intelligence to handle being left. But then you got to also understand that sometimes the greatest way compassion can be shown is by leaving you alone. All right. So when leaving is love, here's what you need to understand. For both the lever and the left, if you have to grieve the loss, do that because it is a loss. I'm trying to make some sense today. Um, I'm an emotional intelligence trainer. I'm certified to train in EI. And one of the things that I want people to understand is, I'm 1 minute over time. Um, you got to grieve the loss. You got to accept the lesson. But here's what you do: you rebuild the boundary. In other words, departing or having been departed from does not mean that you're done with either loving people or engaging people, but it just means that you're ready to do it differently. Yeah. And the cool thing about it, when when I love you enough to leave you, or when you love me enough to leave me, there there's some recoveries you can make. You can recover your peace, you can recover your identity, you can recover your joy, you can recover your happiness. And here's the thing, y'all, you got to be honest without being hostile. You know, for people who leave, let me tell y'all how to leave. You got to choose your time wisely. For people who are left, oftentimes, eh, I don't know how we don't see it coming. I don't know if that's quite true. How somebody says, I didn't see that coming. I don't understand what happened. Yeah, if you go back, yeah, you look at a few things, yeah, you saw it coming. Here's the thing. You want to establish boundaries. Even if you're the lever, the last thing you want to do is go out here and just get the gallivant. And if you are the left, you want to establish boundaries too. And just understand that everything I did, I'm going to do it differently. I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to do it differently. Okay. You got to grieve that gap. Remember, I told you that whole thing. Don't rush that healing process. If you know if he broke your heart or if she broke your heart, You got to go ahead and process that pain. Don't rebound from that pain. You just process that pain. Because see, what happened is, you know, even with our bodies and even with being wounded, if a bone is broken and if they don't reset it in the right place, it'll heal. But the problem is, uh, the healing will create a permanent impediment. Yeah. You want to reframe the narrative from that when you talk about departures. These are things that I've thought about even for myself, having been left and having been a leaver. Um, you got to make sure that you remind yourself that you didn't fail. You just got to keep moving, you know, and get back what was lost before the leaving took place. Your joy, your clarity, your peace, your happiness. Yeah. See, you can always tell people who become more bitter than better after a departure because of how they bounce back. The bounce back tells us if you have become more bitter or better based upon how you process that. I'm out of here, everybody. Have a good day.